Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Today is the first day for Black History Month, February the 1st. And all this month, I'm going to be celebrating. You're going to see me representing, my culture. So we're going to be celebrating Black History Month. Every show we do, we're going to say something about Black history. Okay, today our show is about loving all of me, loving all of me, my culture, my history, everything about me. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Black history and month of February. February, we got Heart Month. Okay, we got Valentine's for loving and loving. Of course, the heart, you love and love it. And then we got Black history. And we're going to love ourselves, not only for Black History Month, but throughout the rest of our lives. Okay, because we want to love ourselves and we don't want anybody to tell us that we are not worth it. Okay, so loving yourself for Black History Month, but today, but always. Okay, loving all of me. Because, like during Black History Month, and I was sitting up here thinking about it. They don't want us to know about our history. Okay. They want us to know about theirs, and they make it their business to make sure that we know about their history. Of course, it's only the good history. They don't want the bad history, only the good history. And so the way I see it, if they want us to know their good history, let us tell our good history. Or why don't they tell our history? The way they put it right now is like we don't exist and we don't matter, but we do matter. Okay? We do matter. So when you're going to talk about us, if you want to talk about the good history, talk about the good stuff that Black people did, like Black women sacrificed their babies to nurse the babies of the white master, the slave owners. Okay, their babies had to be sacrificed so the white slave owners can be nursed. Okay, that's a good thing that our people did. That's history. Okay, what about generational wealth was gained from the work and the labor of the Black owners, not Black owners, Black slaves, Black people. We created generational wealth for the Europeans, okay, the Anglo-Saxons, or however you want to say it. We created that generational wealth for them. So that's a good thing. That it wasn't anything bad that we did, okay? Okay, of course, we could have had that generational wealth too, but that wasn't allowed for us. So that's a good thing. And how about all the things that we invented and didn't get credit for? It's a good thing that we invented these things, but we didn't get credit for it. Okay? So tell about all those good things that we did. If you want to tell about good history, all the good history that the Europeans did, okay? Tell about the good history that the Black people did. We have history too. We have knowledge. There's a lot of stuff out there that we did, and it's undercover. And our history has been rewritten so many times, pushed under the rug, put behind a stone, so we don't know. So it is time for us to stand up and say, we want our history known too. You're not the only one that matters. Okay, you are not the only one. So bring on my host, my co-host, Reggie Drama, for him to put in his 2 cents too. And while we're doing that, I'm going to give the first tidbits of Black history, because I'm going to make it my business. At every show, I'm going to say one little thing about Black history. And today, what I'm going to talk about is the bomb threats of the historical Black colleges and universities. Did you know there were 6 bomb threats recently of these Black colleges? And why? Why are they threatening to bomb up our colleges? So back in the history days, they didn't want Black people to go to their college. So the black people went and built their own colleges. And then after that, they have the nerve to cry discrimination because they didn't want white people in their school. Okay? Discrimination, all this discrimination, all these years back where white didn't want blacks in their schools, it was okay. But then when we have a black school, it's discrimination because a white person ain't in there. That's crap, to be honest. And now they threatening to bomb our schools. Why? Because they don't want us to learn. No, you get some great education in these black schools. More, you get better education in the black schools than you do the white schools. Of course, they're not going to say that, but I know from my experience, I got a better education. I was treated better, and they wanted me to learn when I was going to a black school versus when I was going to a white school. White school, they didn't want you to learn. They flunk you in a minute, whether you were smart or not. Okay? They didn't want you to be successful. And now they're trying to bomb up our school. Maybe it was just a threat. Well, hi Reggie, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Miss Sylvia, and welcome to Black History Month. I'm pretty sure Mr. Carter Goodwin Wilson would be proud of us and a lot of the things that we've done and accomplished. And when you think about our accomplishments, this whole month being set aside to just recognize contributions of Black people in history. And when you think about it, I think uh, the work that Mr. Wilson put in, uh, this thing starting out with just a week, you know,
Mhm.
and that week long celebration was really to observe uh, Black people that made contributions. And when you look at, I think it was President Ford in '76 that made it official Black History Month. But in the beginning, it was to because as a people we always had great ties to Abraham Lincoln, so we wanted to make sure that February being a month that Lincoln was born in, we wanted to have Black history around that week because we did a lot of stuff like Emancipation Day, uh, Declaration Day, Juneteenth
Mhm.
was so we wanted to do that. So when people come to me and we realize that our history did not start with slavery. We
Right.
had influence throughout the planet. The deeper, every time you dig, the deeper you dig, the blacker it gets. You find out more history. Uh, so that would explain why there would be a segment of or a population of people that uh, people wanted to ignore. Because if you could say that these people made no contributions, did nothing but work and provide labor, then you could justify treating them the way you was treating them, from slavery to Jim Crow, uh, apartheid, all those things, colonization, and that's the real reason that around the globe, I think the whole uh, planet, we starting to see ourselves as Black and brown people, whether it's in Africa, whether it's down in Brazil, whether it's down in the Caribbean. We everywhere. China, we got Black folk in China, Russia, all over
Mhm.
Europe. Matter of fact, when you look at the Olympics now, you look up and you like, man, goodness, I think they had a Black Chinese doing something, but you see our
Really?
people everywhere, and you say, wow, man, they got Black Russians, they got Black Frenchmen. You look at all those names and you start saying, man, but this has always been, we've always had an influence on the world other than just labor, okay? And
Mhm.
even today, when you look at the contributions of Black and brown people, and the story that we leave in our legacy that we leave it is based on what we've been doing. Excellent, excellent, Black excellent. So I'm
Mhm.
excited.
Yeah, yeah, I am too. And I forgot to do the good news. Okay.
Oh, what's the good news?
The good news is I am running a sale on my book
Mm, okay,
for Black History Month and for just Loving Me Month. So I'm running a sale called Loving Me on my ebook. Okay, so
okay.
starting February the 12th through the 28th of February, Loving Me Special, you can get my book for $3.99 on the internet. Just the ebook. Just go to the ebook. Well, go to the internet. The website is www.tinyurl.com slash power thought book. That's it.
Mm.
tinyurl.com slash power thoughts book. And you can order it right there. February the 12th through the 28th. That's the special time. But of course, you can always go and get the hard copy. You can get the soft copy now you want it. But that's when I'm doing that special. February 12th is Loving Me Month. Loving Me Special for the hearts and for the soul and mind. Everything's loving me. Loving me.
Well, we like a good special. Ain't nothing like a special. Uh, and you think about your book, the contributions that we make. That's a powerful book that helps people, deal with. You got a lot of positive thoughts over there, Miss Sylvia. And you think about
Thank you.
if they ignore your book, how would you feel? If they act like you never put a book together, they just say all she did was cook pies and have babies. You feel like you was slighted. You know, because you made a contribution, and I think that's what the power of this month is. And we make contributions in so many areas. Uh, we have to acknowledge those contributions, and nobody else is going to do it, or we shouldn't count on somebody else doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, they can do it. When you talk about our historical Black institutions uh, and the contributions that many people have made coming out of those institutions, uh, we have to be the voice of our own selves and our people. We have to tell the story. People say, well, the only thing they talk about is Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. Well, there's so many people you can look up and find out things about that made major contributions here, not only here in
Mhm.
America, but in Canada, Mexico, Africa, Europe. Uh, so you have to bring a new name. And one of the things that we've been encouraging people to do, you can do this 365 days out of the year. But
Yeah.
you,
And
you
we
can,
we uh we do it's more to Black history than Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. It's a
right.
whole lot more history. I mean, Black people are making history right now. I bet you probably didn't even know that it was a Black woman who created the movie. Now my mind just went blank. That's sad. Black is a Black woman that created the thing in the movie right now. 3D movies.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was a Black woman that did that. And that's current. It was a Black man that invented the potato chips. People didn't know that.
Right.
So it's a lot that we created and made life so much easier for everybody else. I mean, if you look around, look at the ironing boards and the brooms and the lights and cars, there's so much that made life so much easier for everybody else, and we're not being recognized for it.
Right.
So
Well,
I challenge people to um, do diligently, um, do their research, and find
right.
out what else people have done. You'll be surprised.
Oh yeah. Well, when we ask ourselves different things, and it's up to us to spread the news. For instance, one of the oldest Black businesses is a business, E.E. Ward Moving and Storage. They were founded in 1881, and it really was a stop uh, for the Underground Railroad. But this business has been around since 1881. So, they survived a lot of the burnings. We talk about Tulsa, we talk about different things here, even in Georgia where they burnt down black businesses. But,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get caught up and think that uh, that was it. Okay. But
Right.
there are so many businesses that survive. Uh, right now, there's a couple in Fayetteville, Georgia, that has one of the only, not just black, but they happen to be black people, but they have a what we call an automated convenience store.
Mm.
You just go in, press a button, everything comes to you, all that type of stuff. So we have people that are making history yesterday and today. We
Right.
have young people. Uh, if you go over and look over on our good news page, you'll see different contributions. There are about 8 young brothers that are pilots at different airlines, and all of them
Mm.
are less than 30 years old. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look at we look at sports, we look at music, uh, but in education, in research. We have a lot of black and brown people making a lot of contributions. So we have to pull those names up. If you want to hear somebody different, other than Jackie Robinson, who was born in Cairo, Georgia, just a couple miles from where I live, Ray Charles, Patti
Mm-hmm.
LaBelle. Uh, if you want to hear something other than uh, the normal names, because sometimes they give us people to celebrate. They say, okay, uh, yeah, okay, yeah, just gonna deal with these 5 folks, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that creates a mindset that makes people believe that there's nobody else. There's so many
And
people that made
there are so many people when you think of sports. I mean, look at NFL for instance. Okay, of
hmm
course we're still doing this, putting money in their pocket.
Doug
NFL,
Williams.
huh?
Remember Doug Williams? This is the anniversary of when he made uh, uh, the entrance as a winning quarterback in a Super Bowl. That's the
Right.
he started and he finished the game and he actually won the game against Denver, I believe. And I always remember that game because I won money on that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh
Well,
yeah,
what
yeah,
I was
yeah.
talking about with the NFL,
hmm
majority of the players on the NFL, what color are they?
Chocolate.
Right. Okay. Majority of the head coaches, what color are they?
Uh, white. Whoa.
Uh-huh. So who's making the money for who?
Uh-oh.
We're,
Well,
we're still making money for them, even though they're getting the chocolate people, as you say, are
well,
getting money, but they're putting money in everybody else's pocket.
right.
You know,
Well, you know, that's a catch-22. When you talk about football, it's hard for us to get loose from football, especially men. One of the
hmm
things though, and this is changing historically, black colleges with Deion Sanders being down there at Jackson State. Now look what's about to happen. One of the reasons that historical black colleges are being threatened today is goes back to a mindset that somebody wants to control the efforts and actions of black people. Now,
hmm
when we started attracting people that would normally go to the big school here in Georgia, it could be the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech. In Mississippi, it could be Ole Miss. In Alabama, it could be Alabama or Auburn. In South Carolina, it could be Clemson. But when you start challenging the status quo. And that's something that just recently happened in Black history. When Deion Sanders took over as coach of down at Jackson State, he started recruiting the same people that these big schools would recruit. You
mm,
know, and,
yeah.
we're showing down here in February 7th, 1926. That's when Carter G. Woodson launched Negro History Week, and we have to look and put stuff in perspective in our history so that we'll know what happened, how it progressed into a month. But going back to just our historically black schools, now they are competing because they're gonna get some of the same money that the big schools are getting. You know,
Mm-hmm.
now I know a lot of people that say, "Oh man, I was recently in a barbershop and brothers were talking about Dion." They say, "Man, he wants them to call him coach." Well, he is a coach, uh, and he has a winning season, and he's attracted some of the top players. So this is one of the reasons. There's always a backlash when we show black excellence.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
when you look
It
at
is.
some of the contributions that people have, and we as a people, we got a two edged sword. Uh, and this is going back to self love. The young lady, I think she was Miss USA or Miss North Carolina back in 2019. She recently took
Yeah.
suicide. Well,
I know.
right,
Chelsea, Chris.
right,
Yeah,
right.
30 years
Well,
old.
yeah.
Yeah, and, and,
Well,
and that was one of the things too in loving yourself. And
hmm
she must have been going through some things.
well,
But
uh,
she always appeared so happy.
right.
She
Well,
always appeared and to cut people by surprise.
yeah. Well, you never know what people are going through, especially black people. For
Right.
instance, I always remember reading Vanessa Williams, uh, uh, just people writing books about Vanessa Williams and what she had
Mm-hmm.
to go through when she was Miss America. She got death threats. She got
Mm-hmm.
not just from white people, from black people too.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. People were like, you too light to be representing black folk. See, our people get a
Yeah.
double-edged sword. Not only do you get persecution from white people, which is a given,
Yeah.
we want this,
But what I don't understand is why they're going to persecute black people for being successful. When a white person do something and succeed, we don't
hmm
have a problem with that. But then when you see a black person succeeding, there's always a problem. It's like black people are not supposed to succeed. They're the ones
well,
who did so much creation and inventions and had the math and all of this other stuff. Black people are really smart, and they always want to dumb us down. You can't. At one time, you couldn't even look a white person in the face. You have to look down. You know,
mm,
uh, it's
well,
like no. I'm loving myself, and nobody is better than me. That's the way
well,
I look at it. Nobody is better than me, and I'm not going to let that racism thing be my target reason for failing. No,
and
that's not
and
going to
we
be my target reason
and we
because
have to
I'm
look at
loving
that.
myself.
We have to look at that in our history, uh, and I think with the new generation that's coming, that operates without fear, uh, for a certain amount of time, we had uh, people that would operate in fear. I know there's a lot of
Right.
negative things that go out, and I think one of the things that we have to do with our young people is have conversations about the past history and share why it's so important. If, for instance, when you talk about the Holocaust, uh, you can't say nothing negative about the Jewish people and the Holocaust. And we respect that because I got a lot of Jewish friends. We talk, we have open discussions about the things that they've gone through and the things that we've gone through. Uh, well, they don't uh, put themselves down when it comes to their history. Okay, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think they got a Jewish Heritage Week and a Jewish Heritage. Every group's got a month, but uh, as a people, we have to do some self love because we have to have. There's a tendency for us, and that comes from post traumatic slave disorder. We have a tendency
Right.
to want to persecute our own selves. Yeah, you got enough heat coming from white people, prejudiced white people. Okay, so we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to help them by tormenting our own selves and our own people. But
Yeah. And
here
you
in
know you
America,
have a target on your back, but you can't just say that target is on my back, so I'm going to submit to it. You can't
oh
do
yeah,
that because the more they shoot that arrow towards you, the harder you should be trying to succeed. I'm going to show you I can do it despite all these obstacles you're putting in front of me. You got
right,
to do it. You got to, and you can't just tell them every little thing either, because if you tell them you're going to Jackson, Mississippi, they're gonna put a roadblock in front of Jackson, Mississippi, so you won't get there. Okay, like a lot
right,
of black people, they try to have businesses. The banks wouldn't
hmm
give them a business because basically they're black. You know,
right,
they don't want them to succeed. Like I know one person who needs to get his house repaired, just get some paint and stuff like that. The house is paid for, but the bank will not loan him some money to get a repaired house, to repair
right.
his house. That's ridiculous. No, I
Well,
guess they're gonna try to take the house from him eventually,
well,
because he don't have stuff done,
yeah.
and
Well,
and, and,
one
and
of
they
the,
do that,
hmm
huh? Yeah,
well,
they they
if
they do that. I mean, it's like, okay, even this is loving our history. They will take everybody, put them in this certain area. You got to live here. Then when the black people get over there and they flourish and make everything good, and they wearing these mint coats where some of the white people don't wear, they don't like that. Then they're gonna go over there and burn it down, or shoot them up, or put them in jail, or
right,
whatever. Because black people can't succeed. You know,
mm.
that's the thing.
Well,
Black people cannot succeed. You got to love your history, love your culture, know what your culture is all about, and embrace it. That's
right.
the thing.
Well,
Embrace it. And you know you're gonna have challenges, so they're gonna make you stronger because you're gonna get out there and go for it.
right. Well, we can't ignore the fact that white supremacy and white privilege exist. Okay, we can put a check by that. If you here in
Yep.
America on a daily basis, you recognize white supremacy and white privilege. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, knowing that, we have to put ourselves and keep ourselves in a position that we respect ourselves as a people. Uh, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, people say, well, all lives matter, but uh, we had been so pigeonholed into not believing in ourselves. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot to do with uh, going back to the mindset of how to trap a group of people into not believing or not respecting what they've done in the past. But I think now, today, there's a lot. I'm optimistic. When I talk to some young people, I just talked to some young people the other day, and I was asking them, "What books are you reading?" Uh, and that's something, a young brother. And matter of fact, he exposed me to something because I knew about the miseducation of the Negro. He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Unc, have you read the book, The Negro in History?" And I was like, some of these books are out of print, but I had to look it up. And that was a book written by Carter Woodson and Charles Wesley. It was one of the first books to be published that dealt with the Negro in history. Okay. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
book was printed on and published by a white publishing company, book company. Now, one of the things, because nobody had thought about documenting the Negro in history, it just wasn't important. So we owe it to ourselves and to our next generation to be accurate. Uh, uh, they call them curators of history. It's our responsibility to tell the story. Nobody's going to tell the story. Just like if somebody in your family omitted somebody in your family, you make it a point. They say, "Hey, y'all gonna remember my mama. Are you gonna remember my daddy? You might not like her. You might have had some things that uh, you just didn't favor about her. But guess what? You're gonna acknowledge her presence, her energy
Yeah.
when she or he was here alive. So we have to do that with our history. Now I realize that there are a lot of mean white people. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But there are a lot of people that are embracing our history. When you think about critical race theory, I was just recently with a group of open-minded white people, and they was like, "I
Mhm.
didn't know, Reggie. I didn't know that these things would happen." Just think about it. When we used to watch Cowboys and Indians, back when I was
Mhm.
growing up in the '60s, I thought that's what you bought a gun to kill Indians. Because
Yeah.
that was the message that was being directed in the movies. Bonanza, the Virginian, all the rest of all the little John Wayne movies, all this type stuff. But as we learn more, we start to do more, and we develop a different mindset. Remember all the football teams and the baseball teams that had derogatory mascots when it came down to indigenous people. You was like, we didn't think of nothing of it. Well, the same way we look at that, it's the same way that other people are starting to look at our history as a black and brown people in America. They're starting to say, well, why didn't they bring that up? Why didn't they let us know about this person? So
Mhm.
America has to not rewrite history, but tell the story, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we
Take it out
made
of
a
the
lot of
lockbox.
contributions. What's that?
Take it out of the lockbox.
Oh yeah, you got
They
to
got
take it
our
out of the
lockbox
lockbox. Oh
history
no
fucked
doubt.
up.
Yeah,
Huh?
you got to take it out
Yeah.
of the lockbox. When you think about a lot of the first, I always think about Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was a boxer. Uh, even Muhammad Ali said Jack Johnson was a crazy black man because Jack
Mhm.
Johnson was fighting in the early 1900s, 1908, when they did all the race riots and everything. Matter of fact, they
Right.
said a lot of the race riots was because of what Jack Johnson was doing to white people. Because Jack Johnson would take a white boy and just beat him up in the ring. He was mauling. And with
Mm.
all that, they still didn't want to just kill him. They wanted to whoop him in the ring. That's why they brought all the great white hopes and all this type of stuff. It's a good history lesson looking at Jack Johnson. And Jack Johnson was running around with white women, fast cars. He was going to Europe back and forth, doing whatever he wanted to do. And yet, meanwhile, back at the ransom, many of black people hated Jack Johnson
Mm.
because
Well,
they
because
said,
he was dating white women.
well, not just that, because he was exemplifying freedom that they themselves knew they'd never be able to get. Because the white
Yeah.
people around them would say, "Don't you think that you're gonna get away with that?" So
Mhm.
now, fast forward, uh, we find ourselves, and I find myself in position as an older person. I said, man, if you ever find yourself in a position, you have to question yourself. You say, well, there were people that did not believe you could have a black president.
Mhm. Yeah, a
Okay,
lot of people couldn't believe
like,
that.
oh,
But
yeah, oh,
just before you finish that, let me interject this. Did you know that Jack Johnson was an inventor?
yeah. He invented
Yeah,
uh
the monkey
uh
wrench.
the monkey wrench. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was a wrench, but you know how they got that name? When they found out it was a black man that invented that wrench. Oh, that
right.
monkey invented the wrench,
Yeah, yeah,
and thus
yeah,
calling it the monkey wrench.
yeah.
You know?
Well, oh yeah. Well, now to my prejudice and racist white brothers and sisters, because we have to look at them in a particular way that once you understand them, you still have to hold them accountable, but because they come from us, when you go deeper into history, you can recognize their flaws. So when it comes to their behavior, when it comes down to how they treat us, just like what if you ever look at what's that little story, uh, the I think it's the little lady with the golden slipper, the mean stepsister. Okay,
Oh, Cinderella.
Cinderella. Yeah. Well, Cinderella is just say the best looking of all them girls was Cinderella. Now
Mm-hmm.
she had more favor than anybody, but yet guess what happened? The stepsisters, they said they set it up where they made sure that she wouldn't get what they was getting. Even when the guy was coming
Mhm.
looking for her, they did had to. Well, even if you go back past Cinderella, what's the guy in the Bible? Joseph. Joseph, all his brothers uh, hated him so
Yeah.
much they wanted to kill him. Well, when you uh, realize that there are people, because sometimes you say, man, it's kind of crazy the relationship between black folk and white people. Now they will let you breastfeed their baby, but yet
Mm.
they didn't want you to drink out of the water fountain. Now you got to think. I want you to really think about that for everybody out here too. If somebody now, uh, you say, well, you don't mind the woman breastfeeding your baby, your white baby, but you don't want nobody drinking out of the water fountain, or you want them to go to the back door, or you drain the water in a swimming pool if somebody's black stepped their toe in it. So a lot of stuff we find out is about control. When we talk about anything, when the relationship between evil-minded people, a lot of times it's about control. It's just like a rapist or a murderer, a serial killer. It ain't nothing that you doing wrong. They got the problem.
Mhm. Yep.
So
They do
so we
have a
have to
problem.
we have to continue to uplift the people and the young people that's coming up. There's a young brother, I can't think of his name, has one of the highest IQs on the planet. Okay.
Mm.
Now he's like 16, 17 years old. So, we might be gone before we figure out or find out what he's going to be doing. So the future looks bright for us.
Yeah. It's a lot of young kids who have those high scores and who's going on to college at 14, 15 years
Oh, yeah.
old. They are so brilliant. But you know what? Some people don't like that. They
Yeah.
don't like them to be smart.
Well,
Even in high school, sometimes if a black person is doing real good, some of the white teachers don't like that. You cheated. You know
mm,
that's their thing. You cheated. How did you get
well,
this score?
yeah. Well, now the world is changing. Now, there were people, because we have to keep an open mind. And the open mind is that there are more people that see the reality. Okay, they see the contributions of black and brown people. Now, even though
Mhm.
sometimes we say that they can tolerate certain things, uh, in certain white populations, they have what they call a magical Negro. The magical Negro is we can accept one talented person that doesn't look like us. Okay,
Okay.
and
Just
what that
one.
does, just one. He could be, you look at and there are a lot of people that feel that way. When you look at uh we had a major discussion about prejudice within the white community. And a lot of groups you see one or two magical Negroes. People say, uh, they could be in a school, a private school, but there are certain numbers when the number gets past a certain amount of magical Negroes, people have a problem with that. And that's what's been one of the major problems in America. So when we look at our history, it's not the fact that we don't make contributions. It's not the fact that we can't do or compete with any and anybody on the planet. It's the fact that we have to be pleasing to white people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And as
And,
long
and
as
so- go ahead.
oh yeah, well, as long as you pleasing, you can't have too many. Now we'll say, okay, uh, you can't have too many magical Negroes with talent. And people feel some kind of way when they see they did a experiment. And even though I grew up watching TV, and most of the people I saw on TV were white, up until
Hmm.
Julia, I think Diane Carroll, Bill Cosby came on with I Spy, Sidney Poitier, who we just lost, came on board, and Flip Wilson back in the day. But there would be white people to be like, man, there's too many black folk on TV. We need to watch something else. They would block them out or tone it down because you say, okay, we got enough people, and you could be stereocast into a particular thing. Okay, all right, we got enough people. We got Eddie Murphys. We don't need nobody else. We got
Yeah, yeah, and see the thing is, okay, they would do that, but black people had no problem in watching white people on TV. I mean, they
right.
turned to them. I mean, they look forward to seeing them on TV. They
I,
weren't
I
look at that color.
I gotta admit, John Wayne was one of my heroes.
Yeah, I like John Wayne and Elvis Presley. I
Yeah,
love Elvis Presley.
yeah,
So
and
I had no problem with it. But then you put some black people on there who trying to be heroes. There's a
you're right,
problem with
right,
that.
right.
You know, I don't understand why is it the white people have
Whoa.
to always be the top dog and everything. I don't understand it. They put us down, try to make us think that we're not smart, not intelligent enough. Of course, they're always going to pay us less than anybody else, but yet and still they try to be like us. They go out there
Ooh,
and get their
whoa,
suntan so they can have skin color like us. They
whoa.
inject their lips so they can have lips like us, inject their butts so they
Oh,
can have butts like
whoa.
us. You know,
It,
then,
it, it,
and what
it
really ticked me off
is
is
what?
they caught themselves having dreams. When I went to the Bahamas and I saw somebody, a white girl getting her hair braided, that really
Uh-huh.
pissed me off. It's like they
Well,
stole our dignity, they stole everything else. Now they're trying to steal our culture.
well,
You know?
remember Bo Derek, the movie 10? I
Mm-hmm.
think that came out during the 70s or early 80s. Well, there's no secret that uh, Caucasian people have always admired black culture. You can take it back
Yeah.
to Greece. You could take it back to the Romans. You can take it back to any civilization of people. They always admired what our people have done. They just
Mm-hmm.
could not give them credit or acknowledge credit because they didn't want to give them the rewards or accolades that were due to them. Uh, there are situations where I remember going to Egypt, and this was back in the 80s. First time I ever went near the pyramids. They were doing work. This was back in the early 80s. They were doing work on the pyramids, and you know we had um, they were doing work on the pyramids, and people were saying, well, and this is people that I was on the ship with. I didn't have a sense of awareness, and I always remember when the guy said, well, those not black people. Look who's
Mm-hmm.
over there now. And that stayed in my mind for a minute because I was like, well, I thought black folk did the pyramids and stuff like that. But somebody else was telling the story, and it was narrating in it. I had to do my own research. So key point of all this is we have to do our own research. One thing now, we got the
Mm-hmm.
internet. You can pull up anything, you can check out anything, and you can bump these stories up against other stories. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of great research on different things. When you look at black and brown people, I remember the brother. He's an astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and this is something that I really think about. He said they had called him to do an interview on this radio station. And he said he was the first black person to do an interview that it wasn't race related or had something to do with crime. They was
Mm-hmm.
asking him about these rock formations in space. And when he
Mm-hmm.
showed up, he said he was telling the story that was one of his first. Well, he had experienced before, but that was a big experience of racism because the people that came, they at the radio station, they thought that he was there to do something on race or crime. He said, "No, I'm the astrophysicist. I'm the one that's going to be talking about this rock formation in the stratosphere." They was like, "Wow!" and some of those people, because they too had been uh, not exposed to us as a people, and these were some open-minded white people, but they could not comprehend that a black man would be talking about something other than race or crime.
Mhm. Yeah, and crime, that's one of the things they try to pretend like black people are so criminal. But you know
Mm.
what? Like they will always stop black people, right? Stop and search, stop and search.
Well,
Majority of the
black
stop
people
and
stop
search,
black folk.
yeah. But majority of the stop and search were black people, right? Okay. They didn't find any guns. There only a small amount of white people were stopped and searched. And they are the ones who had all the guns. Those that tiny amount of white people had more guns than all of those black people that they stopped
Oh
and
yeah.
searched.
Hey,
You
what?
know,
Oh, well, you got to stop that. White people will have guns, supposed to have guns.
they
You know,
supposed to have guns.
yeah, they supposed to have guns. Well, it's a lot of things that we look at history now. Not we have to look at, and I have to look at it too. The things that we expect, and it's changing. We expect white people to do, even though there are certain things. You know, you. I remember the first time I ever met a white guy that had a dependency problem. Okay,
Hmm.
he was hooked out on heroin, and I was like, "Doggone, James, you're white. You should be able to kick this thing." You know, in the back of my mind, I was thinking like
Yeah.
that because in my back of my mind, this just shows you what white supremacy and slave syndrome do to us. This is why we have to reprogram ourselves, and uh, we have to retrain ourselves to not just get stuck. We have to do a brain breaking. You know how they did bug breaking? We have to
Hmm.
break the cycle in our brain that always goes back to and even though we do have situations where black folk have tormented us for no reason at all, but we are such a
Yeah.
resilient people that we can build our own communities. We can take care of ourselves medically. We can take care of ourselves financially. You look at there's a book by brother uh, uh, Dr. Claude Anderson, Pyronomics.
Hmm.
Now in there, uh, it can be somewhat depressing because you could look at black accomplishment 100 years ago, and you could look at accomplishments today. Now you have to look at those accomplishments in not just a ball. You have to look at them with all the different things that would affecting people. Sometimes we can get into a point where we start believing that we can't do nothing else. We had the greatest time we ever had was 100 years ago or 60 years ago. But we
Mm.
have a population of young people that's going to make history that we hadn't even thought about. Some of the limitations that we thought, like I said, with Deion Sanders, with coaching, when it comes down to, there was recently two brothers that competed in what they call Formula One racing. Now, that's the
Hmm.
highest racing, Indy racing, all this type of stuff. A lot of things that we just would say that there would be only one magical Negro. We see multiple people, so that's what we're doing now. Our history is being moved and shaped in a way, and we can accept it, because we can see it. Now, we have to acknowledge, we have to, share. Just like people share bad news, we have to share anything that we have that shows us in a positive light.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going on now.
Yeah, we do have to share, and one of the things I do want to share is in part of loving yourself is taking control of your life, your health, because
Mhm.
a lot of people they give their money to the doctors needlessly
Oh
because
yeah.
they trust the doctor, but you have to understand, but they're out for money. The pharmaceuticals are out for money. You got to know that your body can be healed. And a lot of your illnesses is because of your diet. And the doctor's not going to tell you that. They're going to give you some pills as a band-aid so you can keep coming back to them and give them some more of your money. So we have to stop that. You got to know that you got to take care of yourself. That's loving yourself, because I've seen several times doctor misdiagnose me or giving me
Mm.
pills that's not going to take care of what the problem is. I mean, just like they say that diabetes, you're going to be taking insulin the rest of your life, or high blood pressure, you're going to be on these pills for the rest of your life. High blood pressure is not a disease, it's a symptom. That's
Mm.
what high blood pressure is. It's a symptom. You find out what's causing you to have high blood pressure and you fix that. Okay. And then you don't have to be on these pills. Diabetes is curable. You know, sometimes you go to type 2 diabetes. Uh, Sometimes you have that because of your diet. You know, you might be overweight, have fatty liver. Fix it. You fix that and you get rid of your diabetes. You don't have to be on these shots, and you don't have to take this medicine that's going to cause you other problems. You know,
Right.
because metformin, it causes all kinds of problems. You know, I'm trying to think of some of the things kidney problems.
Oh yeah.
Metformin will cause kidney
Organ
problems.
shutdown. Uh,
Yeah.
one of the things, and this goes back to history, learning more about ourselves. We have to learn
Yes.
about the things that other people are doing. And some of this stuff is in all the holy books, the Quran, the Torah, the Bible. It teaches us as a culture of people there are certain things that we shouldn't do. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
because, uh, and even going into COVID, as a history here in America, anytime there's a negative, uh, statement associated with something, you usually use black people as the guinea pig. You say, well, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
uh, man, you know, diabetes is out of control, and there's more black folk with diabetes. Heart attacks out of control. There's more heart attacks. Man, COVID is out of control. There's more black folk getting it. Black folk need to get shots. Black folk need to get the wear masks. Well, again, it goes to controlling the actions and efforts of people. See, we have black doctors, black and brown doctors. We have more people now that's involved, and we learning more. I had a brother that anytime we try to do more, people get on us for doing better. For instance,
Yeah.
when you start practicing better health techniques, when you start practicing better spiritual techniques. Three things that really confine the efforts of black and brown people. One was the church, one was the education system, and the other was the prison system. All three of those systems cater to shaping black and brown people. But we escaped all those things. We looked at we excel no matter where you go. If we apply ourselves, we see that there are great possibilities for us, the future, and we just can't buy into the narrative. That's why we got to take advantage of this whole month of February and
Mm-hmm.
show positive things that black and brown people are doing. Yeah, I look at the old history, the things that we had to do. We had to suffer, we had to endure, we had to catch all this hell, lynchings, hangings. I just did a thing on Emmett Till. Found out that not only did he get killed, his daddy was killed, hung
Mm-hmm.
in France, in Italy, I believe. So
Yeah.
when you think about all this stuff, we say, okay, that's the history. We have to know the history so that we won't repeat it. And then when we see some of these things that people are doing to us, then we'll know why they're doing them. And once you understand why, I think Minister Farrakhan puts this out. Once you understand why people do, you won't understand nothing until you understand white supremacy.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
and that is important. And some people
super
they just
important.
overlook it. That's just the way they are. No, you don't have to accept that.
Right.
You don't have accept that's just the way they are. No, just stand up for your rights. Stand up for what you believe in. If you don't feel like you're being treated right, stand up for it.
Stand up
No,
for your rights. Yeah.
how?
You know that song, stand up for your rights. I forgot, but yeah.
Yeah,
But we continue to make contributions, and our history didn't start in
in
1619.
slavery. No, cause man, we were kings and queens. They even kidnapped a princess and brought him
Oh
over here
yeah.
and made a slave out of him.
Hmm.
So we had history and wealth, and they took it away. I mean
Well,
that's what apartheid was about.
oh yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. They
wealth
running
that
them out of there.
Africa
Oh,
had. They
oh,
went over there and saw it and tried to and took it.
I took it. Oh yeah.
Black people can't have anything. We can't
Well,
have a culture. You want that. We can't have wealth. You want that.
well, well. Let's
We
say
can't have a
not that
smart
we
mind.
can't have, but
Huh?
the thing is, not that we can't have it. The thing is
They don't.
that somebody's always trying to control it. See, when we look and say we can't do this, it starts putting a thing in your mind that say, I can't do this because white people going to do this. White people going to do this. I can't get a call because white people want to get the call. I can't buy a business because No. What happens, there are people, there's an element of people that are counterproductive to the lives and efforts of other people. And we just happen to know those people. Now we find ourselves, and that's why we have to keep our ancestors, their contributions in our minds when they just want us to figure out and talk about one group of people. Five folk. They say for Black History Month, I want to make sure y'all talk about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and maybe Marcus Garvey every now and then. But there are so many other people, including yourself, myself, many others that we know that make major contributions. Happy Preacher that just passed away. We got people that have started groups, organizations, things for the betterment. We got people buying back neighborhoods. They I got brothers that have bought, not just here in Atlanta, Detroit, Chicago, Cincinnati, all over. They have bought and influenced things. So we can't let other people dictate what we can do, because you'll start to give up. You say, I can't do this
Yeah,
because they're going to do this. And when we take they out of the equation, we can become the people that we are, the kings and queens.
yeah, yeah. You're
How's
right.
it?
But just because we say we can't let them dictate doesn't mean that they don't try
They
because
ain't
they
going to
see
stop.
you. They see you in an escalator, whatever the car is, high price vehicle. They stopping you.
They'll
You
get used to
stole
it.
it.
They're going to get used
Yep.
to it. They're going to
Yeah.
get used to it. They're going to get used
They're
to it.
used to it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully,
Oh,
and
well.
hopefully it won't cost you your life. You know, but it happened. But we have to love our culture, love ourselves, love everything
Oh, yeah.
about us. That because we're all about loving ourselves. Because
Oh,
if we
black
don't love
people, I
ourselves,
love
ain't
black
nobody
people.
gonna love us.
Yeah.
Huh?
Black people really love everybody. You know what? I
Yeah.
don't care where I've been. I've seen white people run around free in black neighborhoods. I don't care if I was in Norfolk, Virginia, in the hood. I was in the south side of New York in the hood, the south side of Detroit in the hood, the south side of Chicago in the hood. Here in Atlanta, I still see white people running free. Nobody bothers them. We are very caring people, okay? And people realize
Exactly.
that. People know where to come when you need to be protected. You can come in our community.
Yep. Yep. But then let a black person go to a white community.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what
Oh, yeah.
happened?
Oh, some of them
Different
just can't deal
story.
with it. Oh yeah, yeah.
We are,
Well,
like you said, we are a loving group of people.
unless
We
you're a
are
magical
very
Negro,
loving. And
that,
yeah, and we're not the criminal minded people that are vicious that they think we are.
oh no,
Because
we
I've
didn't
seen
invent
people,
crime. We
huh?
were stolen. We didn't invent crime. The first people to do a crime was them. They stole us. We
Yep,
didn't steal them.
yep, yep.
That's
You're
why we
right.
want that reparation. We stolen property. But but look what we've done. Even though you stole us, look what we've done. And some of it was already here. You ignore the fact that we were here. You burn our land. You chased us as far as you can chase us, but we ain't going nowhere. The planet loves us. The
Mm-hmm.
melanated people around the planet, you know. But anyway, that's got to be a part too. But we make history every day. We started this thing, so we'll be here long after everybody's gone.
Yep, yep, we will. So that's going to be it for us today. We're talking about loving all of me, loving my history, loving my culture, loving everything about me and my family. Okay. So I'm not ashamed of what my ancestors did. I want to learn. So don't tell me that I don't matter. Don't tell me that because I matter, my ancestors matter, and I want to know what they did. And a lot of people say, they don't, and they're fighting to keep Black history from being taught. I don't understand that. We can learn all the white history, but we can't learn the Black history. Teach me, and parents out there, teach your children. Teach your children about history, about loving themselves and not feeling like they're less than anybody else. Love everything about you because you are great. You came from great seeds, great seeds. So until next week, we're going to say, I love me. I love all of me. I love my culture and everything, and I'm going to learn more about it. So until next week, we're going to say goodbye. This is Sylvia and Reggie Drummer
Wakanda
of Good
forever.
News at Prime Time. And don't forget my book. We're doing that special, tinyurl.com/ Power Thought Book. We're having a special on it now. TinyURL / Power Thoughts Book. And be sure you watch us on Facebook, catch us on Facebook at Good News at Primetime Television, and keep us up, okay? Till then, we'll see you later.